Alrighty, everybody. Welcome to this special episode of Brownsville Tech Live. And it is November 18th on a Saturday, and we are here to watch a historic launch of SpaceX's Starship. This is going to be the integrated flight test number 2. It is SpaceX's second attempt at launching the Starship heavy launch vehicle. And once again, you are joined by Brownsville Tech Live, where we are covering this historic day on 9 social media platforms. You can watch this event on Facebook, on YouTube, on X, on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Twitch, and you can watch those live as we speak. Now we are actually ready to start the broadcast. The live feed has come on for SpaceX. Let me go ahead and get that going here. Um, Let me go ahead and flip screens, and let's go ahead and add the window here.
Good morning, Star People. On your screen is a live view of Starship awaiting its second integrated flight test from Starbase, Texas. If all goes well, our Starship spacecraft and the Super Heavy booster, which we collectively call Starship, will lift off together for the second time in just 33 and a half minutes from now. Thanks for tuning in. We're excited to be joining you from SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California for today's flight test. Now, there's nothing quite like launch day, and especially so when it's a test flight. It just hits different. We're super excited to be here.
Exactly, Kate. And we're excited to be here to watch Starship, which is the latest and largest vehicle developed to date by SpaceX. And we're building it to fly exciting missions, to get massive payloads into orbit, to land astronauts on the moon for the first time in 50 years, and ultimately to get humanity to Mars.
But the fundamental revolution with Starship is that it's designed to be a fully, rapidly reusable, reliable rocket, or what we refer to as the 4Rs. For those of you following along, you know all too well that Starship gave us quite a show during its first flight test back in April. After successfully lifting off and clearing the pad, Starship became the most powerful rocket ever launched.
But during the ascent, we had leaking propellant in the bottom of the booster, which led to sustained fires, loss of control, and ultimately a rapid, unscheduled disassembly. Of course, there's no test quite like a flight test, and our teams learned a lot, which began design changes and then ultimately hardware upgrades. That iterative approach is a big part of how SpaceX does development, and it's been the basis for all of our major innovations, including those on Falcon, Dragon, and Starlink.
I have to comment what gorgeous sunrise views we have here of Starship. Now, while that first flight ended in fireworks, it delivered valuable test data, which our teams have used to rapidly iterate on Starship's overall design, including significant upgrades to the ship, the booster, and the ground systems. Now, the most notable change is to the stage separation system, which will also be the most challenging part of today's test. We'll talk a little bit more about those updates a bit later in the webcast.
Now, in preparation for today's flight test, the vehicles have undergone dozens of individual tests, including a static fire on the ship, 2 super heavy static fires, and a final full wet dress rehearsal that we completed at the end of October, where we loaded the vehicles fully up with propellants and tested our new countdown sequences. And that brings us to these beautiful shots on today's flight test day. After 7 months of hard work by the entire SpaceX team, we're ready to give launch another shot.
100%. Now, once again, just like Flight 1, excitement is in the air. The electricity is certainly starting to grow. This is a live view of our Starbase Control Center, known as Star Command. It is 6 miles from the pad. We also have teams gathering here right behind us in Hawthorne, California at our Mission Control Center. You can see the crowd gathering. It is an early morning, but you got to wake up early to get that front row seat. And we also have public gathering on the beaches at South Padre Island, as you see there.
And I can't say this enough, today is a flight test. While it's not happening in a lab or on a test stand, today is absolutely a test. And the goal is to gain invaluable data to continue rapidly improving Starship. So whatever the mission outcome today, excitement is guaranteed.
Now, if all goes well, Super Heavy will fire its 33 Raptor engines and lift off from that pad right there in Starbase. About 3 minutes into flight, we hope to see the Super Heavy booster separate from the ship in SpaceX's first ever hot stage separation. This means that the second stage will light its engines while still attached to a partially lit booster. If the ship's engine's light, and if the whole thing holds together, its engines will remain lit for about 6 minutes before the coast phase.
Now, with those big ifs, if we get past a successful stage separation, the booster is going to perform a flip maneuver, then execute a boost back burn before it attempts a splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico. In the meantime, Starship will coast for about an hour at altitudes ranging between 150 and 250 kilometers before it makes its own re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere, and then ultimately a hard splashdown in the Pacific Ocean.
Now, again, if we get past a successful stage separation, Super Heavy will leave the ship at an altitude and trajectory just shy of orbital, meaning Starship won't have to fire its Raptor engines for a deorbit burn and will naturally come back into the atmosphere. Now, meanwhile, Super Heavy will attempt a landing burn before splashing into the Gulf. While the booster will practice a landing, we do not plan to recover any hardware from Super Heavy or the ship on this particular flight. Now, with the exception of Falcon, this really is no different than what happens to most other rockets flying today that are expended or fall into the ocean after completing their mission.
Now, even though we aren't planning recovery, the telemetry and data that we receive all the way to the end of today's mission is really what we're looking for, particularly with respect to temperatures during reentry and how the heat shield performs. Much like our first test, we want to gather as much data as we can around the fully integrated vehicle in this flight-like environment.
Exactly. So let's talk about some objectives for today. The primary goal for Flight 1 was to clear the pad. We did that, and we got amazing data that helped us to improve the vehicle and pad that you see right there today. This time, on Flight 2, we're hoping to get all the way through stage separation, where we will try to perform this hot staging maneuver. In the bigger picture, ascent is the most critical objective today, and everything else is learning. Like I said last time, a few times, the further we fly, the more data we can collect.
Now, we do expect that the camera views will be spotty after stage separation, and that's because we rely on ground stations that are positioned along the globe along the trajectory. But we are experimenting with Starlink on both the booster and ship on this mission, which will be communicating with our satellites in orbit to see if we can get that data.
Yeah, so if we make it past stage separation, there is a chance that we could get better live views throughout the duration of the flight test, including re-entry, where we typically have a blackout period with no communication with the vehicle whatsoever. So all that said, this is the first time that the vehicle will attempt to communicate with Starlink in orbit, so no guarantees.
Yeah, we're at T-minus 27 minutes, so let's check in with John for an update on the countdown. How are we looking, John?
Thanks, Shiva. We're currently loading propellant from the ground system into both the first and second stages, and we're on schedule for launch in just over 26 minutes from now. Now, we delayed a day getting here. Yesterday, on Friday, we had to replace a discrepant grid fin actuator on the first stage. We also replaced 2 other actuators as a precaution. The stages were remated, checked out, and everything was go for where we are right now this morning. Now, as I mentioned, we are in propellant loading. Both vehicles, the first and second stages, use the same 2 propellants. Our fuel is liquid methane at a temperature of just over 100 Kelvin, or about 272 degrees below 0 Fahrenheit. This is a different fuel from Falcon 9, where we use the RP1 kerosene. But our oxidizer is liquid oxygen, the same as Falcon 9. Because there is no oxygen in space to support combustion, we have to bring our own. We did the weather poll and the go-no-go poll at T-minus 2 hours. We got the goes, and we started loading both propellants on the booster at T-minus 1 hour and 36 minutes. And at T-minus 1 hour and 17 minutes, we began propellant loading of the ship, second stage. Propellant loading of the Starship second stage main tanks will complete at approximately T-minus 22 minutes, just a few minutes from now. And at about the same time, we will switch over to loading the header tanks in the nose of the ship. Meanwhile, it'll be T-minus 3 minutes when super heavy prop load completes on the first stage. And at that point, all propellant will be on the rocket, fully loaded with over 10 million pounds of propellant. As we near T0, it's worth noting that the timing of the countdown will be slightly different today. For Flight 1, we lit the engines and lifted off about 6 seconds later. For Flight 2, we aim to reduce that time by almost 2 seconds, shortening the period between engine start and liftoff. This will help reduce stress on the ground and the propulsion system.
Once again, we are joined from our boots on the ground on South Padre Island. It is the Space Cowboy. Welcome, Space Cowboy.
Hey, what's up, Danny? Nice to be here at Isla Blanca at South Padre Island on this beautiful morning, looking at a wonderful sight here of Starship with the sun on the horizon. As we can see, there are lots and lots and lots of people here already. People from all over the world, not only here in the U.S., but from all over the world that are here to witness the IFT-2.
Right.
So I hope everybody's excited. I could feel the energy is here. So let me show over the camera and get it done.
Look at that nice view.
So good. And let me get it full screen. There. All right, so that I see what you see.
Yeah.
And good morning to everyone.
Yeah. What's the weather like? Is it in the 50s and the 60s? I'm here comfortable in the studio while you're out on the field. So.
Right. How's the picture looking on your end?
It's looking good. It's looking good. So far,
okay.
So good. I see the ripples in the water.
Maybe it's the fog that's messing with me. Thinking to me, it looks like the screen is blurry, so
Right.
That might be the fog. So it's not the lens, then the lens should be good to go.
Yeah. Well, that definitely looks good. Can you kind of how far are you away from the amphitheater?
The amphitheater pan over to the right.
Yeah.
Trying to shake the camera too much. And there.
Are there any
Here to my right.
Are there any
I'm too far away, maybe.
Okay.
Oh yes, I could hear the music in it. That's why I didn't want to get too close.
Yeah.
So that get a copyright strike for music.
We remember.
And we could also see here the Starbase, with Rocket Garden in the background over there. Those are mega base where Starship and the booster. To the left is the launch pad over by Chica Beach. So, welcome to this podcast again. Good morning. I am your co-host, Space Boy, writing co-pilot with my dear friend Daniel on Brownsville Tech Live, streaming on multiple platforms.
And
Thank you again for tuning in.
how uh, how many people would you say are out there? Uh, would you take guess?
It's it's really in
In the hundreds?
uh, yeah, people are pretty much shoulder to shoulder. The coast here at Isla Blanca, parking is already getting full at 5 in the morning. I was fortunate to find a spot almost towards the pavilion where Margaritaville is at. That's where I found.
Oh wow! So you were actually able to park inside Isla Blanca today.
Yes, I was. I was fortunate. Hey, Daniel, I don't see your video.
The
I
what?
can't see wherever you stream
Oh,
camera with the
sorry
flash
about
on
that.
it. It's
Sorry about that. There we go. You should
all
see it
right. Here we
now.
go.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. I forgot to turn on the virtual camera setting here. Yeah.
Problem. And I hope it. I'll do the best I can. But viewers, just in case, I will be recording offline in high resolution, and stay tuned for that. Immediately after the launch, I will work on getting one in high resolution to to find that
And the booster, basically at the top of the booster, between those two stages, that's our new
Yeah,
hot
give me a
stage.
second here. I'm just trying to.
Our new separation technique.
You
As we
still
talked
there?
about earlier, we are constantly learning and
Yes.
upgrading the vehicle
Yeah, I
as
just
we
wanted to
test.
turn on the video
Now, this
sound
is a
just
pretty exciting
slightly.
first
So
for our
if there was
team, as
anything
hot
that we
staging has
missed,
never before been used as part of
once
a
again, for
reusable
those of
space
us joining,
transportation
you
system,
are
let alone on a
watching
rocket with the
Brownsville Tech
size and
Live.
power of
It is the
Starship. Hot
Starship
staging is a
Integrated
significant
Flight
change from
Test
Flight
2.
1, and we're
This
really
is
hoping to gather data on
SpaceX's
it during
second
this highly
attempt
dynamic
at launching the
phase of
Starship
flight,
launch
and that is
vehicle
once again
right
assuming that
here at
we even
home
make it that
from
far.
Boca
Of course,
Chica,
let's take a closer
20
look at what
miles
we expect
east
hot
of
staging to look
Brownsville.
like.
And as you
Now,
see on
it
the
occurs
screen,
at about
we've
liftoff
got
plus
a
2.5
live
minutes.
feed
At that point,
from
the booster will shut
SpaceX
down most
of
of its
the
33 engines,
actual
leaving just 3
launch
running, and
attempt.
the ship will ignite all
Additionally,
6 of its
we've got
engines. Clamps will
boots on the
release, and
ground.
then the
Our
ship will
fellow
thrust
co
away from the
host, the
booster.
Space
Now, this
Cowboy,
is the
is
first
on
in-flight
site
test of the
on
heat
South
shield on the top
Padre
of the
Island
booster and the bottom of the ship,
for
and of
this
course the first
historic
in-flight test
event.
of hot staging, and we're hoping to gather a ton of data on it
It's
today.
amazing, Space Cowboy, how we've come this far. Just thinking a few months ago, we didn't think we were going to get to this point. We had delay after delay and government agency after government agency. Not only that, but to top it off, all these pesky environmentalists out there trying to cause all kinds of havoc, throwing their last gasps of air, you know, to try to stop this launch from occurring. What's your take on today's launch? It's been a long road to get here, but we're here.
Sure.
You there? You there? You there? I think we've lost some of the audio here from our. There we go. Now we've got the video back. Space Cowboy, can you hear us?
Uh,
I can hear you. I can hear you a little bit. You're kind of breaking up. Maybe hold the camera stationary there for a little bit to stabilize the audio.
okay. There's a
While you work on that, we'll just
about
mention.
I want to make sure for there we go. But sure. Okay.
You're kind of breaking in and out, but it's all right. Just as soon as you get stabilized here, we definitely understand that being out on the field has its intricacies, no doubt about that. But what you're seeing on the screen for those of us watching is a live view right now of the Starship launch vehicle. It is about 16 minutes and 15 seconds before launch time. And once again, we've got our boots on the ground. Our space cowboy is on site. He will be providing high resolution, I believe 4K coverage of the launch that's about to come up. Yes,
It is
Mr.
fine.
Chui, this is live right now. We've got one of our viewers, Chuy Rodriguez, who is asking whether this is live. And yes, what you're watching is
I'm
a
enough.
live
My hand if
picture
you can see me.
of Starship. Right now, you're watching a video of
You
the
walk down
water
here,
gun
you see the
system.
guy with the turquoise colored shirt, long t-shirt. There's a path right there. Walk down through there.
All right, Space Cowboy, we can hear you now.
All right, good.
Yeah, not sure what you did, but you did something. You there? Well, what happened? Uh, turn on your camera. Alrighty, as you can see on the screen, it is 14 minutes and 23 seconds. What you're seeing is a under view of the 33 Raptor 2 engines. Hello? There you are.
I had to. Uh,
Not a problem.
okay.
We've been
All
entertaining
right.
our viewers with the live feed from SpaceX. And once again, we've got one of our viewers, Chuy Rodriguez, who is asking if this is live. And yes, it is. We have a live feed directly from SpaceX, and we also have boots on the ground right across the jetties, across the launch pad. Space Cowboy, how's it going out there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I heard loud and clear. Uh, how's the live feed coming in on your end?
It's doing good. Do I see a
Yep.
boat out there? Is that a boat on the right hand side?
Yes, sure is. It sure is. It's a ferry. It's got a lot of people on it by the looks of it.
I thought, last night when you and I were on, I thought they couldn't be around that area.
Yeah, yes, they can be. As you see, they're not going out there to the ocean. They're in here within channel because of the restrictions. So, out here, I just get a giant Titanic ferry, or a what do they call them? The Carter cruise liners. So,
Right,
that would stop a lot of people because that would take them out of focus of what we're here to see.
right.
So it looks like that's to the right is the current not blocking the view for everyone.
Yeah.
So the sun is starting to rise up left towards the Gulf of Mexico. It's perfect for launch. What do we hear on this side? What's the latest information on the launch?
Well, right now, let me turn on the volume. We'll go ahead and turn on the volume on the.
As efficient as we want to be or producing
we'll
slower than we want to.
Pause talking and let the
So
video
that approach has been the basis of how we've made all of our major innovative advancements.
It is about 11 minutes to launch time.
All right. Now, Falcon 9 has certainly come a long way, and Starship will too. But as a reminder, today is a test. We really hope to get to stage separation, but any data received will help us improve. It's the second of many future flight tests of Starship before it becomes fully operational.
And these flight tests teach us about the limits of our design. They help us improve our understanding of the vehicle, and ultimately will help us to make Starship more reliable and rapidly reusable. So again, whatever the outcome and however far we get today, we can promise excitement. So why are we doing all of this? Why do we need a rocket this big, and why does it need to be reusable so quickly? And that answer goes back to SpaceX's mission, which is to make life multiplanetary.
We aren't just building a new spacecraft. We're changing what it means to go to space. By building the most powerful rocket ever flown and a ship designed to carry people, cargo, habitats, satellites, and more, we're unlocking a future where our dreams of exploration will no longer exceed our grasp. And this mission continues with flights like today's integrated test.
And these are flights where we're going to fail fast, but learn even faster, where each time we're going to try something new while flying something that we've improved. And ultimately, that's going to build up a fleet to fly early and often as Starship rapidly evolves to become more capable and more reliable.
The first stop is our nearest neighbor, with a surface that hasn't seen visitors in more than 50 years. Under Artemis with NASA, Starship will return people back to the moon. After those first expeditions, we'll be ready to fly more people along with everything that it takes to build a moon base. Think about that. Hardware that will enable us to live on another world is sitting on a launch pad on Earth right now.
And the moon is just the proving ground. When the time comes to make that leap to Mars, everything gets ratcheted up by orders of magnitude.
The logistics of supporting an entire city on Mars are daunting, requiring millions of pounds of cargo flown from Earth spread out over thousands of launches. We just broke our own record for the number of launches in a single year, and we're going to break it again next year.
Now, in the years to come, Starship is going to dwarf those figures as we bring it online and truly make life multiplanetary. But for now, anyway, as the clock counts down to today's flight test, why don't we get another status update from John?
We're just over 9 minutes from liftoff as the countdown clock clicks to 0. Good news is, teams aren't working any significant issues on the launch vehicle right now. Propellant loading is continuing on both the Super Heavy and the ship stages. Most recently, we began loading LOX and methane fuel into the header tanks on the Starship. And on the graphic on the left side of the screen, you can see up in the nose of the second stage, what we call Starship, are those two header tanks for fuel and liquid oxygen. Now that loading started at T-minus 24 minutes and will continue until approximately T-minus 5.5 minutes. Now Starship's second stage main fuel and LOX tanks are loaded for flight.
I'm listening to the live
that we're loading on board is going through the quick disconnect that comes out on the arm that's located at the base of the stage from the tower. Now on the Super Heavy booster, propellant loading will continue until T-minus 3 minutes. We've also configured the pad for liftoff. A little earlier in the count, the booster hold downs were commanded to unlatch. That means once the rocket has sufficient thrust to overcome its weight, it'll lift off the pad. There's no need to command the hold downs to release the rocket. As we mentioned earlier also, the ignition sequence has been slightly modified from the last flight for more efficient liftoff. As a reminder, we ignite the engines a few seconds before T0. We don't lift off exactly at T0. We lift off a few seconds later, a couple seconds. Finally, the SpaceX team continues to check in with the Coast Guard to ensure there are no boats in the safety perimeter before proceeding with launch out over the Gulf of Mexico. Now, currently, we're coming up T-minus 7 minutes, 10 seconds.
T-minus 7 minutes.
To the test flight of Starship. Propellant loading is continuing on both stages of Starship. We're waiting now for the completion of loading of the header tanks in the next few minutes. The first stage is also beginning pressurization for flight while we are continuing to load propellant into it. And again, booster propellant load will finish at approximately T-minus 3 minutes. At that stage, both first and second stages are fully loaded, and we'll have the 10 million pounds of liquid propellant on board the 2 stages of Starship.
Everything
On the
looks
next
like
few
a go.
minutes, the guidance system will perform its final alignment. We'll get the automated flight termination system that'll arm, and the
I just
final
want to give a
TVC
quick shout
checkout
out
will be
to all the
performed.
viewers on
We may
X
get a
and
view
over on
looking up at the
Facebook and
engines
all
as
the
we
other
gimbal the
platforms that we
13
are
middle
streaming
engines to check them out
simultaneously
just
here
before
online
liftoff
today,
at
live
about
from South
T-minus
Padre
90
Island
seconds.
Boulevard.
Yes,
We
here at
need to
Isla
hold.
Blanca.
It would come at T-minus 40 seconds. That's the point in the countdown where we can pause to wait for final checkouts or pressurization to complete. Or, as we're hearing right now, we're still working a few boats
I
in
see
the
you
area
guys.
that are headed
Rocky,
south.
shout out to Rocky Norwood, the nerd team on X.
And a lot of
So
cheering here
let
in
me turn the
Hawthorne.
camera back around. We are
The boats are heading
T-minus
south,
right around
but
7
we
minutes.
are still
So
planning to
let
hold
me
at
get back
T-minus
on
40
focus.
seconds if necessary.
There's some cheering going on.
Just amazing views of today's launch. There's nothing quite like a launch at basically sunrise. Sunrise, I think, was just about 10 or 15 minutes ago out at Starbase.
Yeah, these views are just incredible. Couldn't ask for a more beautiful day to attempt a test flight here. Again, these are live views of Starship as it awaits its second integrated flight test. Our primary objective today is to get through stage separation. We really want to test out our attempt to perform hot staging, where we are going to ignite the engines on the second stage while some of the engines on the first stage are still lit. So essentially both stages will be making fire at the same time, and that will push the booster away from the ship. It'll separate the 2 stages. So that's the primary goal for today. We really hope to be able to test that out, but at the end of the day, all and any data that we can collect is going to be incredibly helpful
Danny,
and help
can you
inform
turn on the
future
chat on the
improvements
X
and
side?
iterations of the vehicle.
Yeah, Kate. There are other
the,
objectives for today too, assuming we get
doesn't
farther
recognize,
than stage separation. There's
X.
goals to test out how re-entry
You can
goes
log
on
into
the
your
ship
X
portion.
account on an
If
alt
the
device,
booster survives
you may
stage
be able to turn
separation,
on
then
the
it's going
chat.
to try a boost back burn and hopefully a soft landing as a sort of dress rehearsal for what it would look like on land. So everything coming up to that big design change, though, of hot
If
staging
not,
today.
you don't have to
Yeah,
mess with it. We
exactly.
don't
Like you
wanna
were saying,
risk-
that booster, it will be attempting
the
a water landing in the Gulf of Mexico. We don't intend to recover any of the hardware for either the ship or the booster today. But that booster, yeah, we want to try and demonstrate controlled ascent through most engine cutoff. We want to try to demonstrate that hot staging separation and boost back flip, trying to basically demonstrate controlled burn and entry and that soft water landing. Like you said, it will help inform when we attempt a land landing, but we start in the water first.
Exactly.
Just like we did with the Falcon 9.
Yeah, exactly. And, just getting to hot staging, though, is going to be farther than we got on Flight 1.
Yes.
Flight 1, that was about as far as we got. We didn't have hot staging on that vehicle. So that's the first and foremost objective today. Get that far, hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Now, one thing that's a little
Retweet the
cool
space,
about Starship,
folks,
and it's
over on
different
X
from
side,
Falcon 9, is
retweet
we can
and,
actually
share
hold a
and
little
like
bit
and
longer if we
comment
needed
on
to
all
than we can
platforms.
on Falcon 9
Help
missions.
support us by
Once we get to
sharing,
T-minus
liking,
40
and
seconds,
subscribing,
and if we did
retweet
have a
this
hold,
space, we really
depending
appreciate
on the reason for the hold, we can hold for
Shout
up
out
to
to all the
30
folks
minutes.
over on Twitter,
And today,
formerly
actually,
known
our
Twitter,
entire
now
launch
X.
window is about 20 minutes, so the whole duration would cover most of our launch window.
Yeah.
And that's
I
different
see
from
you guys
Falcon.
on there.
Yeah,
What's
absolutely.
up, nerds?
With Falcon,
I see you,
we
Jay.
have to go exactly at T0. That 40-second hold is super helpful. If we
see you
need
there,
to,
Rocky.
for example,
What's up, guys? Norwood.
we need more time to pressurize the
Blaze, I see you guys.
COPVs for
So,
flight levels.
I gotta focus on
perhaps
recording
fuel.
The
a
engineers
high-res
just need to
video
look
at
at
the
some
same
of the data,
time,
see
so
how engines
I'm
are performing, or
multitasking.
the avionics.
Exactly, those checkouts.
I see you there, Barry. What's up?
Being able to
Good morning.
have the the opportunity to top off the fuel or locks if it's not fully loaded. And, we might want to just take a few more minutes for that. So that T-minus 40-second hold can be really helpful. But we don't have that option on Falcon, so it's a little bit different here.
Alrighty, it's less.
We're just inside T-minus 2 minutes and counting. The good news right now we're hearing it doesn't look like we're going to need to hold a T-minus 40 second as the boats are clearing out of the way. Next event coming up, TVC wiggles as we move the center engines on the first stage. You can see maybe just a little bit there. 90 seconds, wiggles are underway as we're checking out the first stage.
The engine wiggle.
TVC checks are complete.
Hey, thumbs up, buddy.
Next major event we're going to hear, hopefully, is the flight director go for launch at T-minus 30 seconds. As we're coming up on T-minus 1 minute, when we get to T-minus 40 seconds, we'll just listen in. Last time, as you recall, we did hold at 40 seconds. It took a few seconds for the clock to recover, so we're going to watch that. And as we press to T0, we're going to watch and listen the second test flight of Starship.
T-minus 30 seconds.
T-minus 30 seconds.
Back to rapid recycle.
They recycled the clock.
Recycle the clock. All right, what's...
Back at Hawthorne, we're at T-minus 40 seconds in holding. We had a rapid recycle. We've not heard anything over the countdown net as the team works both first and second stages.
40 seconds.
We're going to monitor the nets here for a minute.
They recycled the clock. T-minus 40. Any updates, Daniel?
No, not yet. We're just waiting to see what we hear back here. If there's something.
Got a little bit of an update. We're continuing to hold at T-minus 40 seconds. This is the normal hold point for Starship, as we talked earlier. Sounds like we're working just late pressurization on, I believe, the second stage. Team is working it. All the other systems are on hold right now at 40 seconds. We can hold here for about 15 minutes or so before we would run out of window for this morning. So right now they're working on filling pressure vessels. And ideally we'll be able to solve this and come back and release the clock at T-minus 40 seconds. We're going to continue to listen and monitor for another few minutes.
And it's worth mentioning here that don't go away. We are holding at T-minus 40 seconds, but once the teams have resolved and see the data that they want to see, the clock can restart straight away, and it'll start ticking down from T-minus 40 again, all towards liftoff.
Yeah, exactly. Now, while we do have the ability to hold for up to 30 minutes, we only have a 20-minute launch window, so don't go away, don't change the channel, and just like Shiva said, we can restart that clock, and there it is.
And there it goes.
There it goes. The clock has been restarted.
Clock is rolling. T-minus 30 seconds.
Rolling. All right, let's go. What do we got, Daniel? What's the clock like?
T-minus 15. 10. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 1. We have liftoff.
Wow, look at that.
Vehicle pitching downrange.
Chambers pressure nominal.
We are T plus 40 seconds into the flight on Starship. 33 Raptor engines powering the
Booster
first stage.
power and telemetry nominal.
We've heard power and telemetry nominal call out. We're heading downrange over the Gulf of Mexico. And that call out tells us Starship is through the period of greatest stress on the way to space. Now the next major event is hot staging in just over 90 seconds from now. To get ready, the booster will shut down all but 3 of the Raptor engines. Clamps holding the 2 stages together will release, and the Starship's second stage will ignite its engines. Starship will then separate from the Super Heavy booster and head
Oh
to
my
space.
God. I'm
And at
hearing
the
the
same
rumble
time, the 3
here
engines
at
that
the
are
studio,
still firing on
and I'm
Super
20
Heavy
miles
will
away.
flip the booster around.
Wow.
10 more engines will ignite for the boost back burn, putting the first stage on path for a splashdown
We
in the Gulf
actually
of
heard
Mexico.
the rumble. That is incredible. We heard the rumble here at the studio. I felt the monitors shake.
That is awesome. I'm trying to stay in focus, make sure I get as much as I
Engine
can.
power continues to look nominal on 33 Raptor engines. We're about to shut down the
Hell
first
yeah.
stage and perform staging. Let's
33
watch and
engines looking
listen.
Nominal. That's fantastic. Let's go, Starship! Woo!
And acquisition of signal Houston and New Orleans.
Booster engine cut off.
Yes! Woo!
Here we go.
Stage separation.
Stage
Boost back startup.
separation.
Ship converted.
Oh!
You're hearing the cheering. The first ever successful hot stage for SpaceX's
Yes!
Starship.
Incredible views of our Super Heavy booster. And
Got a view of
as you can
Starship.
see, the Super Heavy booster has just experienced a rapid, unscheduled disassembly. However, our ship is still underway with
Ship
all
avionics,
6.
power
Good!
and telemetry
Go,
nominal.
Starship!
And we just heard there, ship avionics, power and telemetry nominal. All 6 engines are lit, as you can see from the GUI there at the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Now, we did know
she is
that
gone.
the that hot staging was going to be incredibly dynamic. We knew that there was a
Starship
chance
is
that
out
the
of view.
booster would not survive, but we're going to
She
take
is
that
gone.
data and figure out how we can make the booster better for the next hot stage.
Yeah, that hot staging put a lot of load on the top of the booster. And of course, it flipped around there, a lot of dynamic stuff happening. But ship is still going strong.
And it's doing great. Right now, the ship, the second stage, is on its way. Like we said, you can see all 6 of its engines are ignited.
Yeah.
The next major
That was
milestone
awesome.
for the ship will be the shutdown of those engines, or SECO, second engine cutoff, which if you follow our Falcon 9 launches, familiar terminology there. So far, today has been incredibly
That was
successful,
awesome, Daniel.
even with the
It
RUD
was,
of the
definitely.
Super Heavy
I didn't
booster.
expect to
This
hear
is
the rumble here at the
amazing.
studio. I didn't.
primary
expect to
objective
feel
of the
it.
booster
People
today to
erupted in
get to
cheers.
hot staging,
I
to
was
get
trying
ship
to
on its way
stay
to
in
orbit.
focus to
It did
get
that
the most
admirably.
offline. So
Yeah, we definitely
Starship
asked.
is
Starship
out of
trajectory
sight on this
nominal.
end.
All right, great news there. That trajectory
Yes.
for ship is
Acquisition of
nominal.
signal, Cape Canaveral.
Once again, Starship's second stage is firing those engines, and as you just heard, everything's looking good. Now, for the ship, we wanted it to survive hot staging, which, as you can see there by that little dot on your screen, it did. We also want to basically demonstrate that the successful startup of those engines, demonstrating controlled ascent, which is what it's doing right now, and eventually orbital insertion. We are hoping to basically send this around the Earth, and if it makes it this far, splash down in the Pacific Ocean, a couple hundred miles north of Hawaii. Now, if we get that far, like all of that sounds great. Secondary objectives for ship, again, continuing to gather engine data and about its health, performance.
Nominal ship chamber pressures.
Great news there. That tells us that the chamber pressures inside of the Starship, again, that's that small dot on your screen, basically the propellant pressures in the ship are looking good.
Yeah, the bottom right corner of your screen, you can see essentially a user interface showing us which engines are lit. So the 3 center sea level Raptor engines on ship are gimbaling engines. The 3 outer engines in the triangle, the larger ones, are Raptor vacuum engines. All of them continuing to fire nominally. So they're at the pressures that we expect to try to get into our target trajectory today.
Yeah.
And we're not targeting orbit today. We're targeting almost orbit today. That's very intentional as part of the mission design. The goal is to get to a thrust profile similar to what we would need for orbit, but also
And
to get to the
expected
energy
signal,
levels
Houston.
that the ship would need to dissipate for re-entry. And so we're actually going in a suborbital trajectory today, but that trajectory will get us to the energy levels that we need at reentry, where we can really stress that heat shield and get valuable data on reentry. And those calls that we are still on a nominal trajectory here and seeing nominal pressures means that we have a really good shot of hitting our target orbit.
Yeah. Now, if the booster had survived, we would be around the time where it would be getting ready to land, performing its re-entry, but it unfortunately did not survive. That being said, that's okay. It survived several seconds after hot staging, so we're going to take that data and improve the hot staging sequence and probably improve the hardware itself for the next flight.
Well, definitely, Space Cowboy, this was a historic event. There is no doubt that this launch was successful. Obviously, as they mentioned, the booster, the first stage booster did not survive, but that's okay. It appears that the most important part is the secondary booster, which is basically
Yeah,
the
stage
most
2, Starship survived.
They're standing by for a call out here.
Yes,
Coming up
we're
on the
getting
projected
some
time that
comments
ship
from a
would
lot of
shut down its
Facebook,
engines.
Users out there that they felt the rumble here in Brownsville.
As you can tell
Stage
by
1
the
had
excitement from the
had
crowd
run.
here at Mission Control Center
Stage
in
2
Hawthorne.
survived the stage
There's a
separation
great
and
view
is
of our
well on
Star
its
Command
way
Center. That's
to
our
Hawaii.
control center at Starbase,
Where's it
Texas.
at now, Daniel?
The crowd here, Mission Control Center behind us in Hawthorne.
Right now,
Everyone is
they're
super exciting.
in
What a
Hawthorne, they're
successful
cheering.
day this has been so far.
How are the crowds out there?
And I
right
mean,
now?
up to this point, major successful milestones through hot
As you can
staging, which
see,
is
I
the
mean,
big
there's
objective
a lot
today.
of people.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, there's a lot of people. I mean, the people, they busted
So
out
we are going to head
yelling.
into the
I mean,
coast phase.
could hear the
planned
cheers
for the
all
next
over,
about
and
hour and 5 minutes. We'll be returning around the T plus 1 hour and 15-minute mark. And that's while we're waiting for Starship to continue on to its next step for reentry. We're not totally sure what video we're going to get, and that video comes normally by overflying ground stations, but we don't
so it
have
looks
a
like
ton
Starship
along
is
our
well on
flight
its way.
path. So fingers crossed that we will get some
Who's
via
that in
Starlink
the
on this
cowboy
mission since
hat
we're testing
at
that out.
Hawthorne?
Right. So it said they set a nominal trajectory for stage 2, which is Starship. Stage 1,
And also give us a
Super
moment.
Heavy
We are
Booster
hearing some
9
chatter
had
on the
a
net, so we're going to try
RUD.
to parse that for you.
Is that Kimba Musk there at Hawthorne in the cowboy hat?
That sure does. And too bad I can't wear my cowboy hat today because I have this headset that wraps over the top. If not, I left it in the truck. So Pickle Rick is out there in the truck too. He was too scared to get out of my truck.
So he wasn't at Margaritaville like the last time.
I guess not. He's there at Mission Control.
Yeah.
Do you see Elon there?
I don't see Elon. I'm pretty sure. Well, this is Hawthorne, isn't it, or is it Boca Chica?
That's Mission Control. That may be. They didn't say where he was at, but I imagine that's the Mission Control here at Starbase.
At Starbase.
John Innsbrucker back here in Hawthorne at our webcast
That's
desk.
Hawthorne.
We have lost the data from the second stage. We had heard a call out that we were in terminal guidance, which means we were getting near the end of the approximately 6-minute burn of Starship. But we haven't gotten any more data since then, so we think we may have lost the second stage. So we would not be into coast phase. We wouldn't be able to come back in an hour or so and possibly get ready for reentry. However, what we do know right now is we had an on-time launch at 7 o'clock. We got through the boats. First stage looked beautiful with 33 Raptor engines firing. We got the hot staging, the thing that we really wanted to see and impressed. We saw the separation. We saw the flip maneuver. We saw the light up of the 6 Raptor engines on Starship, and it headed away. Everything really looked good. But what we do believe right now is that the automated flight termination system on second stage appears to have triggered very late in the burn as we were headed downrange out over the Gulf of Mexico. But the real topping on the cake today, that successful liftoff, Kate, Shiva, the hot staging is just beautiful. Exactly what we were looking for.
Yeah, ultimately, honestly, such an incredibly successful day. Even though we did have a RUD or a rapid unscheduled disassembly of both the Super Heavy booster and the ship, that's great. We got so much data, and that will all help us to improve for our next flight.
Of course, and that's why we flight test, and you can bet that there's going to be more to come. So we really do want to thank you all for joining us. Of course, we want to thank the people of Cameron County. We want to thank all the federal agencies that have supported us for our test. And of course, a huge congratulations to the entire SpaceX team on getting through this flight test today. And I think with that, we're going to sign off from here in Hawthorne.
Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
So we had a RUD of stage 2 as well, Daniel?
Yes, it appears that there was a RUD that occurred for stage 2. But they gathered.
So what we heard first is that they lost communication, and then they must have had some technical difficulty, and I guess that triggered the FTS system on stage 2.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's all we know, right? They haven't given us any other details of what caused the RUD.
No. In fact, SpaceX has already closed their video link, so we probably won't hear much more until later on in the day, maybe throughout the weekend. But regardless of the RUDs, we've got to say that this was definitely a very successful launch. Regardless of the loss of both the boosters, both the booster and the Starship at this point.
Right. So I got my friend here that I met. He's what is TL LT. I'm sorry. He's here from Chicago. So
Welcome to South Texas, LT.
he's a commercial photographer out of Chicago. So he came
Oh
all the way
wow.
down to witness the Starship launch. You just you just happened to be in Brownsville. Oh, nice. So oh, nice. So he was on Route 66 from Chicago down this way, and he happened to stumble upon Starship here and hanged out for the launch.
Oh
So
wow.
good to meet you.
Well, I'm pretty sure
And
he's happy not to be in Chicago right now. It's too cold.
right. So I think I'm gonna. What do you think, Daniel? You got some more time? Should we do a walk tour of this area going towards the amphitheater?
Yeah, I've got about 10 minutes left before I've got to take off, but
All right. Yeah. So yeah. So people can get a view of. There's still a lot of people hanging out here. Let me get my stuff ready, and so the folks can see behind me. The people online, they could see the amount of people that showed up. I mean, it was shoulder to shoulder in all of this area along the shoreline. All right, we are ready to mobilize.
all right.
Once again, we are live here from South Padre Island over at Isla Blanca Park. I'm your co-host, Space Cowboy, here with Daniel over at BTX, BTX Live on X, and Brownsville Tech Live on all the other platforms that we
Look
can't
at the
say too much here on
crowds.
the X side, right? Because of Papa Elon,
Well, look at those crowds.
we don't want to get in trouble. Let me see. Uh, all right, give me 1 second to. All right, sounds good. Yeah, I'm just gonna walk down that way
All right.
towards the amphitheater. Yeah, so we're gonna do a little tour here of the Isla Blanca area, so that for those that may be interested in coming over on the next launch, they know where to be.
Right.
So, all right. So I got to be careful here. Watch my step getting over these rocks. So, so let's go. Any word yet on the on stage two? What was the RUD?
No,
What
none
caused the RUD?
whatsoever. Haven't heard anything.
All right. So here we are at South Padre Island over at Isla Blanca Park. There's still a lot of folks hanging out. I mean, they're probably going to be here for a while. It looks like there's a major news network down here,
Uh-huh.
down that way. So yeah, I don't know what news network is it, but yes, there is a big news network out here, maybe several this time around compared to the first time.
I had heard that CNN was going to cover it live.
Yeah, I did hear that too. So I'm gonna do a little walk down here towards the amphitheater, so so we could get a scope of the amount of people that are for the IFT-2 launch. We're here next to the RV camping area at Isla Blanca Park. So even though we had a RUD for stage 1 and 2, uh, I mean it did separate. So and now we got to see what happened with Starship. What
Yeah.
caused the RUD for Starship?
Yeah.
So, do you think? Well, it must have happened over the Gulf of Mexico because it was what maybe 5 minutes into flight.
Right.
So, I don't think it passed over. I don't think it got near Florida. It must have happened right in the middle of the Gulf somewhere. They lost communication. What do you think caused? What could be? Could it be that the RUD happened, which caused the loss of communication?
It could have. It could have. It could have been the RUD that caused the loss of communication. It's hard to tell, with these communication hardware of how it could have been affected.
All right, so you can see the folks here. There's lots of people, lots of streamers that are that came down to film the launch. And I wonder, it looks like maybe the amphitheater wasn't reserved this time. When I drove in around the amphitheater, there was police blocking the entrance. So maybe they weren't allowed to reserve the amphitheater this time, the SpaceX employees.
Yeah, remember I
I
told
didn't
you?
hear,
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I did hear some music, but I couldn't tell where it was coming from, but I didn't want to risk getting too close and then getting a copyright strike for the music in the background. Yeah, that's why I stayed over here. With the experience of the first launch, I knew where I needed to be to keep that music, from getting into the live stream. So let's find out. Let's see if the amphitheater was booked. Uh, by the looks of it, it looks empty.
Yeah,
It would have
remember
still
I
been jam packed. There would have been music on. There would have been lots of celebration. So I wonder where the SpaceX employees were this time. Were they over at Astra maybe?
it
Well,
could
there
have
is
been.
some people in there. It looks like it. I see some people walking in the pavilion. Can you see that? Well, they're well, mission control is over there. There's an Ad Astra building 6 miles further back from Starbase, and the employees might have been over there. Well, that's what we're speculating, but we'll find out here. Oh, did they? Okay, so maybe they were all over there at mission control. So I do see some people. It looks like they're in the pavilion area behind the amphitheater or in front, however you want to see it. Um, let's see. Uh, the what the oh the on the what does it say? Tent one, huh? Maybe maybe the SpaceX employees were hanging out here with among us. But I see some movement inside the amphitheater area. So let's see. That was a big question that we all had. There was no announcements for the amphitheater as far as reservations. So there's only one way to find out. There is cars parked in there, and when I passed through here earlier at 6, it was about 6 a.m., 5:30 a.m. The police had it all blocked off. So I think there's music there. Yep. So I don't want to get any closer because then we're going to get a copyright strike. So as you could see, it looks like there was a reservation over at the amphitheater. Whether it's SpaceX employees, it might be so.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you could see that they have some cones there, and hey, sir, do you know if the amphitheater was reserved? Oh, it was not. So the SpaceX employees were not there like the first launch. Oh, okay.
So what was the deal? Was it reserved or not reserved?
So yeah, the last time it was reserved for SpaceX employees only. It was open. Oh, okay. So they do have the music going in the pavilion area, and apparently it was open to the public. I didn't see any announcements for it, so so we can't get any closer there because of the music playing. So we might get a copyright strike. So yeah, it was jam packed. There's a lot of people walking out of the amphitheater area. So maybe the SpaceX employees, maybe some of them were hanging out here, under their own terms, or maybe they were over at Ad Astra. Let's see. Stay tuned. Maybe we'll find out. So, yep. Any word yet, Daniel, on
None.
the
None.
stage two, Rud?
None whatsoever. I think we probably won't hear anything until later on today, I would think.
Okay. All right. Well, shout out to everyone that tuned in on X. You guys know who you are. Shout out to the nerd team. You know, Daniel, you are more than welcome to be a part of the nerd team on X. They are all with open arms. You will be a great addition to the nerd team, and that stands for it's short for Norwood's External Research and Development Team on X. And what the community is about is it's a small community that starts with people like me and you that get together to learn the ins and outs of the X platform to help grow as a community together as individuals and to help each other out with troubleshooting the ins and outs of X.
Yeah. All righty, everybody. Well, once again, we appreciate everybody who tuned in to this special episode of Brownsville Tech Live as we witnessed the launching of Starship Integrated Flight Test 2. Once again, stay tuned each and every week for the latest updates with regards to SpaceX and Starship. Once again, we thank our boots on the ground, the Space Cowboy team, for a job well done, and we'll see everybody soon. Space Cowboy, have a
It was a
great.
pleasure, Daniel. Thank you as well. You are the backbone to making this happen. Over at Brownsville Tech Live on multiple platforms. Over on X, it is at BTX Live. BTX Live, right?
Right, right.
Yeah.
All righty, everybody.
BTX BTX Tech Live. There you
All
go.
righty, everybody. Well, everybody have a great weekend, and we will see you soon.
All right. Goodbye.
Goodbye.